Nice. Courtney Victoria, a Nikon D750 and Autumn in the Forest. I'm going to take my time in composing this image because I want it to be as balanced as possible. It's really quite a simple scene. We've got this big ancient tree on the right of this image. Its tree branches sort of framing the top of the scene. We don't really have anything sort of major on the left subject-wise, but I'm hoping that we get a bit of sunlight come through underneath these low-hanging branches, just to sort of illuminate the scene a little more, bring a bit more vibrance and light into the scene. What I'm being mindful of and playing around with is the space between this tree trunk and the edge of my image on the right side. Notice when I pull that tree all the way to the right, you get this feeling of being in an enclosed space, as though you're sort of stood under the trees, immersed in the scene. When I pull it over to the left and give a bit more space, you sort of lose that feeling. I've also tried bringing in a second tree on the right to join this one, but it feels sort of off balance. It feels very right heavy and doesn't sit right with me. I think 3 in this scene is a good number. 1 being this tree, 2nd being the tree in the background that is bare. Your eye sort of gets led to it through the image, creates a bit of depth. And 3 being these craggly tree branches coming over the top of the image. But I think what this scene really would look spectacular in is a golden mist. Do you know those mornings where you get a bit of mist, but above the layer of mist is cloudless? So when that sun comes up and catches that fog, that mist, it creates this golden glow. I feel like something like that would really make the scene quite magical. Instead of some lovely light, we've just been given some pretty torrential rain. Everything I have in this space is absolutely soaked through. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get everything dry, seeing as I have failed to bring a single cloth with me today. So I'm going to just pause for a second, sort of retreat, regroup, get everything dry, sort myself out before we crack on with some more photography. So for now, I'm going to pass you over to Announcement Courtney, who has some exciting news to share with you. Oh, hello. In January, I will be swapping the green forests of the UK with the ice and snow of Antarctica. Brendan Van Son has teamed up with Polar Latitudes to take up to 100 photographers of all skill sets on a once-in-a-lifetime trip. And you can join as well. Not only will you experience an amazing, epic and potentially once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, you'll also be able to photograph alongside professional and experienced photographers. There will be 9 to 10 pro photographers on the trip as well that you can learn from and work with. If this sounds interesting to you, then I'll put some links down below with some more information, and you can also reach out to me, and I hope to see some of you there in January. Nice one. Back to productive Courtney. Ooh, ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sheltering from the rain in the dense, mossy part of the forest where, let's be honest, you'll generally find me in here anyway, but we're not photographing trees. As it's autumn, the floor is littered with mushrooms. We've got a beautiful shot here. I am pretty much on the ground. There is a cleaning cloth and my Nisi polarizing case just lifting the camera up very, very slightly by a centimetre or so and keeping the camera nice and level. If I pop the camera directly onto the moss, it's quite spongy and it sinks a little bit and then gives me too much foreground, moss in the foreground of this shot. I've got this beautiful line of mushrooms here, and they're not quite level with each other, they're all sort of staggered behind each other. So I'm finding that I'm going to have to focus stag a couple of images, nothing too crazy, just to get as many of the heads in focus as sharp as possible. As I'm focusing past the moss in the foreground, it's sort of gone blurry, and I really like it because it gives you that sense of being immersed in the forest floor. At the moment I'm at f5. I have experimented with going up to about f8, but it does bring in way too much of the background. It starts to get really distracting around there, but I was just playing around to see if I could get one shot with as many of them in focus as possible. This shot looks pretty good from here, so hopefully it turns out just as well as I think it will. We are on the ground again for another shot, this time a single solo mushroom. Again, we're very, very low. This Nisi case is coming in useful as it's helping me just keep the camera level. With this second fungi shot, I'm going to use a narrow aperture instead of focus stacking. This kappa is much bigger and has a lot more detail, and any focus breathing may make merging multiple shots together a little awkward. Although it will bring in more detail from the background, it will make the shot nice and simple. But I have also spotted another set of mushrooms over here that I think we're going to go check out now, so let's go do that. I wanted to go for a vertical shot here of these fungi, and so I've inverted my tripod and popped the camera on it for stabilization. When I'm doing a horizontal shot on the ground, I can just bring my LCD screen out so I can see what I'm doing and keep it pretty still and stabilized. But when I'm vertical, I find it a lot more difficult. So the tripod is just helping a little bit there, just to make sure that everything is still. Now, after going through all the trouble of framing up this shot, I've decided that I don't really like it that much. It's simple, but it's not sort of what I'm looking for. So I think we're just going to move on and go and find something different. I think what I want to try and do is get a slightly wider shot encompassing sort of all the other elements around the fungi as well. So you get a sense of being in a location rather than just a close-up of a mushroom. These ones here are sort of squashed up against this tree root, and there's really not much going on around it, so I think we're going to pass on this one and go and find something else. Garlic? Like wild garlic. So I've run into a little problem while packing up my gear ready to move on. I went to take my camera off the tripod to pop it into my bag, only to find that it is stuck to the ball head. It's just jammed in there. I've never done this before. This is really bizarre. It's a brand new ball head, and I actually think the bit there that you twist in and out to sort of release and lock your camera in place is not shifting. It's sort of jammed in somehow, so I can't get it out to pull the camera off the ball head. So we're stuck on here. until I can get home and take the L bracket off and then figure it out from there. It's completely bizarre. There's just, what is it with me and gear at the moment? We're not meshing well. Not meshing. I am definitely not a macro photographer, and in all honesty I'd say that macro photography is the type of photography that I struggle with the most. I don't really see in terms of those small intimate details. I'm definitely drawn to the bigger picture of a place first. I've had this lens for quite some time, and in all honesty it very rarely gets thrown into my camera bag. I actually almost sold this lens earlier this year, and something made me hang on to it, and that had nothing to do with the fact that nobody would buy it. But maybe we shall turn this into a project and get the macro lens out a bit more often. We shall see. But for now, I've got this really lovely shot here. We've got this one mushroom in the foreground. This is our main subject, the main interest, so it's going to be fairly sharp. But off to the left in the background, you can just make out some other fungi as well, but they are unfocused, they're blurry. I don't want them to be tack sharp because I want your eye to be drawn to it and for it to give a sense of location that this one mushroom is surrounded by others. I think it gives a really subtle sense of location for this mushroom in the foreground without giving too much away, and then leaves it to your imagination to wonder what else is around this mushroom, what other fungi are here, what does this space look like. Well, although it looks pretty bright and sunny behind me, the light has dropped now when you're sort of in the middle of the dense trees. And so I'm starting to struggle to expose for both filming and photography, and seeing as my ball head is still stuck to my camera, I can't really make use of my tripod and slower shutter speed. So I think I'm gonna head home and get that sorted out. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to check out the links for Antarctica down below if that interests you, and I'll see you next time. So I'm gonna head off this way. Yeah, bye bye. Oh, are you going this way as well? Oh, nice. Well, I guess we just walk together then. We'll catch up. Yeah. How's life been going? Oh, it's a bit bright there, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yeah. What do you have for breakfast today? Oh, that sounds lovely.